Time for trade of the week. Now, it's been a really interesting week in terms of trades of the week, because this time last week, Josh was sitting in the sea and he was looking to short a pound-dollar cable. Now, really importantly here, he was setting an entry point, and this proved so crucial in the end. Now, he said he would short it if it dropped below 124.63. That would be his entry point. Now, on Monday, it looked like we wouldn't be able to enter this trade. So he was looking at something alternate, but then things did start to turn around and his trade paid off. Josh, this is why entry points are really crucial to this, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of lessons to be learned from this one. Number one is the fact that, you know, sometimes you need that kind of entry point, because actually it would have really saved you in this occasion if I had said, okay, I want to open a trade right now. I would have got burnt at the open, because we saw this big gap over the weekend, and it's very difficult, especially in this current climate, for you to really mitigate for what's going to happen over a weekend. The second point to be learned is about swing highs and swing lows, and knowing which point to be utilizing in terms of your trade. And certainly I was looking at a swing high for my area that I would potentially put a stop loss at, around about this peak that we have here. Now, 125.70 certainly seems like a notable peak, but if you look at it in terms of the wider context, let's say we'll take it out to the daily time frame, what we can see is that is a little bit more of a sort of minor top compared to what we've got here, 127.11. And if we took it back to the 4-hour chart, actually, if we'd utilize that, and instead of using the 125.70, if we use that wider move, we would have actually got a really nice entry around about that 125.70 for the 76.4 for the shorts. Now, ultimately, the trade, in terms of the idea that we're going to see weakness around this week with Article 50 happening and everything, that paid off. But of course, what happened on the Monday with this gap higher and the rally back through 125.70 actually sort of sent it a little bit wayward. Now, the fact that it did break back below 124.63, you know, actually that's exactly where price is at the moment. So I can safely say right now, actually, I think that we are going to see further downside for next week anyway, because we've created that new low, rallied into the 61.8 and started to see some signs of weakness coming in. So actually it seems very relevant now, and that story has progressed somewhat to show us that actually now we've got a couple more boxes ticked in terms of that breaking of that previous support level.
But I say the importance there, those entry levels and of course stop losses as well. In terms of the week ahead though, he's already said that he does see further downside for cable, but what else is your pick for this week in terms of trades, Josh?
So I was talking in the week ahead about the trend looking like we're get back into US dollar strength. So I want to get on board with that. I do think we've got further to run in terms of the US dollar strength, but I want to go short a different currency, and that is the Australian dollar. Now, we've got the RBA this week. It's likely that we're going to see a more dovish tone. Don't think we're necessarily going to see a rate cut from them. But the wider context is a market that looks like it could be rolling over. It's coming from a big area of resistance, so I'm hoping that we're going to see further downside coming into play with the whole US dollar strength story. Now, if I show you on this daily time frame, we've got this descending trend line coming into play. We've got this zone of resistance. We've rejected it on a number of occasions, but certainly we've rejected it very recently. And despite the fact that we've seen a couple of days of gains, you can see that we are starting to see losses creep in once more. I think we're likely to extend that, and I think we're likely to move away from this resistance zone and start to sell off back down towards these previous swing lows there. Of course, if you break below 74.90, then all of a sudden you've got a double top formation, which points towards a even more protracted move lower. The key thing here, and this is where the risk comes in, is the fact that a break up above 69.79, 69.80 would start to look like we're going to rally back towards this resistance point. Given the fact that we're actually relatively close to that, I think I'll be willing to take the risk that, given that we're coming away from this big area of resistance with, I think, the RBA likely to be more dovish, with, I think, the dollar going to come back into strength, I'd be happy to be short here and putting my stops up above this previous high that we've got here. So let's say 76.90, 76.85, yeah, let's say 76.90, because that also captures this peak that we've got here. And looking for it to move low, you can see your sort of first target would be 75.87, which certainly is going to be a hurdle. But I think if we get back down towards that, given the fact that we've set this new lower high, it would likely to break through that as well. So let's hope that we can get a move lower. Your stochastics is looking a little bit like it could see a rebound, but you know, that's the risk. You can always find an indicator that will tell you otherwise. I'm hoping that we're going to see a decent move lower here.
So, unlike the cable trade, no entry on this, you're happy entering at this level?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's down to, whether you're going to get a decent risk to reward from it, and whether you think that the setup is necessarily there for the trade to be taken. I think the difficulty for me, and probably Chris as well, whenever we do these trade of the weeks, is you're sort of almost forced to say, I want to place a trade right now. And the way that trades for me work is that I let trades come to me. I'll often set limits, exactly. So, I don't necessarily like to do that all the time. At the same time, I always like to be able to do something that happens. I mean, we saw what happened with cable last week. You can say, oh, let's wait for X to happen, and then sometimes it might not necessarily happen straight away. So for this one, I'll take a risk. It is a bigger risk because of the fact that we haven't seen that break below 75.87. But you know what? I'll take a punt, and we'll see how it works out for next week.
Okay, so we are looking to short the Aussie dollar, stop around 76.90. We're targeting 75.87. So that's the trade of the week. Once again, make sure you got your stop losses in place and have a very safe trading week.